There's a beautiful lie that has echoed in our minds for so long. The lie that we need to love ourselves in order to be worthy, to deserve respect, to build lives that make sense. And when we hear this, when that sentence reaches us as if it were an unshakable truth, we often feel a quiet anger. Because we look inside ourselves and see only what we dislike. We see the traits we wish we could change, the parts that embarrass us, the things that make us feel small in front of the world. And then the question screams in our minds, how can I love myself if I don't like myself? This anguish, this tension between what we've been told we should be and what we truly are, is a deeply human experience. But what if you discovered that this hurt, this discomfort, this not liking yourself, might be exactly what transforms you? What if the truth about self-love were far more radical, far more real than any motivational sentence has ever suggested? There's a story no one tells about this. There's a possibility rarely explored. And that's what we're going to explore together, right now. This is another Headspace Talks. Let's go together. We were taught to believe that only certain feelings are welcome in our lives. From an early age, we learned that anger, fear, guilt, resentment, those emotions that make us pulse with raw truth, should be avoided at all costs. We received the message, clear and sharp, that kindness, love, forgiveness, fraternity were the only emotions worthy of being felt. But life doesn't work like that. We are complex beings, and this complexity cannot be reduced to a list of approved emotions and others that must be rejected. What no one told us is that every feeling that lives inside us exists for a deep reason. Every emotion that scares or embarrasses us is actually a survival tool, a signal from the body trying to protect us, guide us, show us the way. Anger, for example, is much more than a dangerous feeling. It is a silent alarm telling us when someone is stepping on our boundaries, when they are crossing what we can reasonably endure. Anger gives us energy, power, strength to react in situations where we shouldn't remain passive. It whispers, "Pay attention, something is wrong here, you need to act." When we reject these emotions, when we pretend they don't exist or that they shouldn't exist, we are rejecting parts of ourselves that are absolutely vital. It's like trying to drive a car with half of the dashboard turned off. Something is going to go wrong. And it is exactly in this rejection that the feeling of not loving ourselves is born. Because we're taught that something inside us is wrong, unworthy, something that needs to be hidden or changed. And that message, repeated endlessly, sinks deeply into our being. Guilt, for example, is often seen as a negative feeling we should eliminate. But guilt is like a red light that pops up on the dashboard, an alert telling us when we've done something that goes against our own values. It helps us correct ourselves, apologize, turn back, and genuinely repent. Guilt gives us the chance to fix what we hurt. Fear also carries this wisdom. Fear is extremely protective. It keeps us from falling off cliffs, helps us recognize real danger, keeps us alive. And all these emotions, anger, fear, guilt, frustration, they are fuel. They are warning signals. They are things that guide our movement in the world. Inside each of us, there is an ongoing conversation. A voice that never sleeps, that is always there, commenting, judging, condemning. And often, this voice is not truly ours. It carries the words of the people who raised us, of experiences that scarred us, of moments where we were torn apart before witnesses. This inner voice absorbed all of that as if it were absolute truth about who we are. "You're stupid," it whispers. "You're ugly. You have no worth. You're small, weak, incapable." And every one of those messages settles inside us as if it were an immutable fact about our essence. When in reality, they're just echoes of other people's judgments that we learned to repeat to ourselves. We spend years believing these words define our identity, never questioning whether we should be listening to that voice in the first place. But here is the truth that changes everything. You do not have to accept every thought that passes through your mind as if it were divine law. That critical voice is not you. It is a compilation of wounds, of fear, of things others placed on you without even knowing what they were doing. And the moment you truly understand this, genuinely understand, something shifts inside you, because you can look at that voice and say, no, this does not define who I am. I will not live under the rule of thoughts I never chose to have. The crucial point here is understanding that the things you dislike about yourself, the traits you wish you could change, don't have to be a paralyzing problem. Instead, they can become rocket fuel. It's not about ignoring your dissatisfaction. It's about transforming it into strength. Because there's a huge difference between crying over what you cannot change, your height, your physical characteristics, your past, and using those exact things as building blocks in your existence. The truth is, there is no magic formula. There really are things about us that we don't like. There are things that won't ever truly change, and that's okay, because you can learn to use them as growth. There is a crucial moment in our lives when we finally realize that no one truly knew what they were doing. The people who hurt us, the ones who left deep scars, they were doing the best they could with the resources they had. And yes, that doesn't justify the pain they caused. But it puts things into a different perspective. Because if they were hurting and we were wounded by their actions, then the chain of pain keeps repeating from generation to generation. The wound mutates. And at some point, someone needs to be willing to stop and say, I'm not passing this forward. I'm not carrying this pain as if it's my inevitable destiny. Real forgiveness isn't about pretending everything is fine. It isn't about denying that the wound exists or that the pain was real and valid. It's about understanding that you can live with that wound without letting it define your entire existence. It's about deeply recognizing that you deserved better, that the pain wasn't your fault, and that from this moment on, from right now, you will make fundamentally different choices for yourself. Forgiveness is an act of personal liberation, not approval of what happened. And this is exactly where true self-compassion is born. Because when you stop spending all your energy blaming yourself for the hurt others caused, when you stop believing that there was something inherently wrong with you that justified what happened, then you can finally turn toward yourself with genuine tenderness. You can say, you suffered so much and unnecessarily. You were hurt by people who were also hurting, and still, you're here. You're still here, breathing, existing. And now, from this moment on, we're going to take care of you with the same dedication you once reserved for everyone else. Self-compassion is the opposite of what we were taught to do. It isn't weakness. It's recognizing your own humanity, your own suffering, with the same gentleness you would offer someone you love deeply. It's telling yourself it's okay not to be okay. It's okay to be broken. It's okay to need help, time, patience, because you are here and you deserve care. The kind of care that maybe no one offered you when you needed it the most. Self-esteem is not something you wake up having one morning, as if someone left a magical gift at your doorstep. It's not a feeling that appears complete and perfect. It is built brick by brick, choice by choice, day after day. And this construction, this slow, careful architecture of a sense of self-worth, begins in the most unexpected places and often in the most uncomfortable moments. Maybe it starts when you simply don't quit. When the pain begs you to stop, when your body screams it can't take anymore, when your mind offers the perfect reason to abandon everything, but you keep going, when the exhaustion is so absolute it feels physical, so deep it invades your bones, and yet you take one more step. When you face something that scares you deeply, when fear whispers that you're not capable, but you do it anyway. Is that small? Maybe, but it's massive. Because in those moments that seem tiny, so tiny the world doesn't even notice, something monumental is happening inside you. You are proving to yourself, not to anyone else, that you can endure, that you deserve to persist. Every small victory is a block added to the structure of who you are becoming. It's like going to the gym. Yes, the next day everything hurts. The muscles complain, the mind begs you to quit, and it's tempting to think it didn't make any difference. But if you keep going, if you persevere, using the things you don't like about yourself as forces that propel your life forward, at some point you begin to see results. The body gets stronger. the mind grows more resilient, and you begin to believe in yourself in a way no motivational phrase could ever create. And when you start noticing these small victories, when you recognize that you accomplished something that yesterday seemed completely impossible, a genuine gratitude rises from deep within. Gratitude for being alive, for having strength still circulating in your veins, for not giving up when every sign told you to stop. And this gratitude becomes the fuel that keeps you going. It's not a self-love born from perfection or from finally becoming everything you imagined. It's a self-love born from resilience, from persistence, from having done the work even when it was too hard, even when no one was watching, even when no one would ever acknowledge it. There is a deep confusion we carry about what it truly means to deserve something. We were taught that we must earn the right to be loved, to receive genuine care, to exist without carrying guilt like a heavy backpack. We received the message often implied, but always clear, that we need to be perfect, or at least good enough, to justify our presence in the world. And that is one of the greatest lies we carry in our chest. You deserve love, not because you've achieved something extraordinary or exceptional. You deserve love because you're alive, because you exist, because you breathed today, because your heart beat one more time. It's that simple and that radical at the same time. And yes, there are things in you that you still want to change. There are aspects of your life you want to develop and refine, characteristics you wish you could polish, like someone polishing a rough stone until it reveals its inner glow. But that imperfection, this ongoing journey of becoming, does not diminish your worth. You are not an unfinished work, waiting to become worthy of love. You are worthy now, exactly as you are, with all your scars and fears and hopes. And when you truly absorb this truth, not as a pretty sentence you see on social media, but as a realization that sinks into your bones and becomes part of who you are, something changes fundamentally in the way you relate to the entire world. Because you stop obsessively seeking approval in the eyes of others. You stop living according to what others think, what they expect, what they believe you should be, and you begin to make choices from an inner place, from your own center of wisdom and compassion for yourself. This doesn't mean you become selfish or disconnected from others. It means you understand that the gaze of others, in the end, wants you to fail, wants you to crumble, wants you to stay small, and you refuse to live like that. You say, I will not destroy myself because of someone else's gaze. I will grow because of it. I will learn from it. I will become stronger. And that is a revolutionary act of self-preservation and wisdom. The past is not fragile. It leaves deep marks. Scars that ache when it rains, that complain when the weather changes. That wake you in the middle of the night with memories you wish you could delete forever. And it is so easy, and at times, even oddly comforting, in a destructive way, to live imprisoned by those marks. Replaying over and over the things we couldn't control, the hurts we didn't deserve, the moments we wish had been different. But there is immeasurable transformative power in recognizing that you are no longer that person from the past. You've changed. You are a different person now, in a different moment of your life, with capabilities you didn't have before, with wisdom only time and experience can bring. You have the ability to make different choices today. And that is the key that unlocks freedom's door. The present is the only place where you truly have absolute power. Not the past. You already did what you could with what you had. Not the future. You don't yet have full control there. It is here, in this exact moment, that you can choose not to live under the domination of other people's eyes. It is here that you can take everything that hurt you, everything you disliked about yourself, everything that once felt like weakness, and say firmly, I will not let this destroy me. I will let this build me. I will take these sharp tools and learn to use them to build something beautiful. Because there is immense potential inside you that goes completely unnoticed when you're too busy hating yourself. When you're too drained, trying to be what you think you should be, there are tools inside you, things you never recognized as resources, waiting patiently to be used. Your fear can become wise caution that protects you from real harm. Your anger can become driving force, pushing you forward. Your insecurities can become a hunger to learn, to grow, to become a better human being every single day. And when you accept the present this way, not as an ending or a final destination, but as a beginning, a launching point, your whole life gains new meaning. Because you're not trying to fix yourself as if you were a broken object that needs to return to an original state. You are building yourself, architecting yourself, consciously choosing the form you want to take in the world, and that is radical freedom. There's a story that is almost never told about transformation. The story of the flag you once carried, that public humiliation that seemed endless, that suffering that consumed you, that moment where you felt deeply inferior to everyone around you. The story of that child whose pants fell while an entire town laughed. Of that preteen desperately trying to hold a heavy flag in one hand while pulling his pants up with the other. The boy who cried for hours, you think you cried for 24 hours, humiliated by having a whole city mock you. But that story didn't end in tears. It ended in strength. Because you had a crucial choice in that moment, and many times in the years that followed, you could have let that moment define you forever. Could have lived your whole life believing the world was right to laugh, believing something was fundamentally wrong with you, believing you deserved to be ridiculed. But you didn't do that. You looked at that deep wound and said, I will learn from this. I will grow from this. And that's exactly what happened. Today, you speak in public without fear. Today, the gaze of an entire town doesn't destroy you. Because you understood something very few people ever truly understand, that the judgment of others does not define your truth, that the things you once disliked about yourself, that body you didn't approve of, that vulnerable moment can become exactly what you most admire about yourself. Because persistence built that, because you allowed yourself to transform pain into power, humiliation into strength. The truth about self-love that is rarely spoken, that truth no one ever talks about, is that it is not a magical feeling that appears one day and solves everything. It is not a constant, uninterrupted sensation of well-being. It is the ongoing, daily, sometimes even hourly work of refusing to live through the eyes of others. It is the decision, repeated endlessly, to take what hurts you and use it as a tool to build. It is the understanding that your life is the only thing you truly have, and it deserves to be lived by you, not by other people's expectations, not by what someone once thought you should be. You have everything you need inside you. It may not look like that right now. It might feel like what you have are just deficiencies, gaps, holes that will never be filled, emptiness that will echo forever. But that toolbox, all those things you don't like about yourself, all those insecurities, all those traits you want to change, it is full of possibility. Every pair of pliers is an opportunity. Every hammer is a chance to build something new. Every screwdriver is a tool that can tighten your life in a different direction. So let me leave you with one final question to reflect on, not to answer quickly, but to truly feel deeply. What is the thing you would create in your life if you stopped living for the eyes of others and truly began living for yourself? What is the transformation patiently waiting for you? What is the strength sleeping inside you that needs to wake up? And of course, if you want to keep walking with me, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here at Headspace Talks, we learn together how to transform pain into strength and silence into healing.